So I'm going to sit up straight like Chris does. He always sits up really straight, and I'm always slouching down in my chair.
Do I?
Yeah, you do. You always look like you have good posture. Might not, but you look like it.
Okay.
You
I
get
try,
in,
I
you
guess.
Get, you get into studio mode.
Yep. Oh, Jesse's here. Yay. Hi.
This is Jesse.
Special
and
guest.
This is Jesse's girl, Kristen.
I am. It took a long time, but I got there.
I know.
Is she going to say anything?
Woof.
Yeah, she usually doesn't say a lot, does she?
Not unless there's another dog.
Right.
Yeah.
She'll growl.
Then it's on.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Settling in.
I'm ready.
All right. Should we get the theme music going?
Yep.
Let's do
All
it.
right. Let's do it. How many of these have we done?
6.
I think this is number 6.
This is number 6.
Yeah, this will be number 6.
Yeah.
All right.
The number of man. That's it.
Aren't we supposed to dance?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dance
we're supposed
break.
to jive to the music.
It's a dance.
I like the one where Mike was here from Power Alliance and he started doing
Yeah. He was in it.
He was like, this is it.
He was in it to win.
It's legit.
All right, let's get started. Yeah, so it's an in-house episode today.
It is that. With a special guest.
With a special guest.
Who's in the house.
we've got our SVP of sales, Kristen, here. Hi, Kristen.
And operations.
Hello.
And operations. Sorry, I
Wow.
didn't mean to leave that off.
Rude.
And Rich, as always, or as usual anyway. Not always.
No, not as always. You're as always.
Well, yeah,
You're
I
the
suppose.
constant of this episode.
I got to press all the buttons. So,
Right.
You know.
Can you
Yeah, you
press,
press
that
all my
womp womp
buttons.
one?
I can. Yeah, you really want the womp womp? Was there something womp worthy or?
Yeah. No, the good one.
What do you mean?
The exciting one.
I don't know what
Wah,
you're
wah,
talking
wah,
about.
wah, wah.
Oh, you want the air horn. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've got all the podcast effects.
Okay.
Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way.
I'm glad.
Yeah, we took a little break, I guess, from the kind of accidentally. I think we all just got super busy
We did.
doing stuff.
Yep.
You both were at a number of conferences over the late summer, fall season.
Yep.
And now we're into December, and I suppose we wanted to wrap the year up, right? And
In a bow?
And with
Sure.
For Christmas?
and happy holidays to everybody.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Same
and
to
everyone
you.
else out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Yeah.
Happy holidays.
No, you don't want me singing.
No. Because it would overwhelm everyone, and Taylor would be off. She wouldn't be
Yeah.
on the charts anymore. She wouldn't be Persons of the Year. You'd be Times Person of the Year next
Yeah.
year. That'd be
I'd
happening.
be at all those football games.
Yeah. So you'd be dating a foot. Anyway, whatever. Probably. That'd probably happen.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, we went to CSCMP
Yeah.
down in Florida, and then immediately went to, was it Boston? We immediately went to Boston to Logi Pharma.
Yes.
So we went from CSCMP, which is more of a educationally oriented and very broad supply chain conference, to Logi Pharma, which is a very small venue where it's about pharmaceuticals specifically. And that was in a nice little tiny venue in Boston.
And then we went to HPCLC.
HPCLC in Chicago, which is another pharmaceutically oriented conference. That one was really interesting because it is based in really advancing people's skills in supply chain in the pharmaceutical space.
More of a networking event.
It is. I think what was nice is it was a single track. Single track conferences are the best kind of conferences.
For sure.
Yeah. So people weren't splitting up into a bunch of different things. And no, it was a really great event. You have a combination of pharmaceutical logistics folks and their suppliers, their logistics service providers, trucking companies, 3PLs, like everyone was represented, packaging companies. It was, and so they all get together and they just talk about how wonderful the world is. Not really.
And
Yeah. You're just going to laugh the whole time, aren't you?
I am. And we were wonderful too.
Good.
Oh, we were totally wonderful.
You're on it.
Yeah.
No, we got to see a lot of our favorite customers.
Yep.
Yeah. And people that we've worked with that, fly in from all over the world for these kinds of things.
Yeah.
So it's kind of and the wonderful thing about supply chains is they wrap around the world, and talking about a bow. And so you end up meeting people from all over the world. And actually, I think it was at Logi Pharma that we met Andreas from Lufthansa. And that was the first time I think we'd met him. He'd been at Lufthansa for, I think, 20 years. Huge amount of experience. He runs their, I know. Yeah, we think of that in the tech industry. You've been someplace for 8 months and you're just like, whoa, time to go,
Yeah.
But in a lot of these companies, people are there for a very long time. And but he is head of their pharma business for Lufthansa globally, and had some really great conversations about actually the very topics that we're going to be talking about today.
Right on.
Which are?
Well, I think we wanted to unpack a little bit about our Twins and Agents framework. It's kind of the thing that we've been basing all of our kind of go-to-market efforts around. It's what we're reorienting our platform strategy around. It's like I think for a long time we were just constantly experimenting about what's the right way to talk about what we do out in the market in a way that people can easily grip onto it and kind of make it their own. It feels like we've got a winner here, and so I think we wanted to. Yeah, I think we wanted to. Help me here.
Unpack.
Talk about it.
I like watching you struggle to say words. It's actually
it's
enjoyable.
It's a daily occurrence.
Like, Chris is not going to be able to complete this sentence. I'm going to see how long he can just do this.
I want to see you do that.
What? Just I only do that when I'm very, very tired. Like if I do an all-nighter.
Like yesterday?
Yeah, that was not by choice. That was by food poisoning. But if I do an all-nighter the next afternoon, I'll do these things where I'll be talking and then I just stop.
Yeah.
And my brain is like, reboot in progress. And, it's just like you see the little 75%, 80%, 100%.
Yeah.
Then I just start talking again. And everyone else is like, what was that gap? And I was
Max
just like,
startup sound.
Yeah. Like, you look like the president.
Reboot.
Anyway, sorry. So, right. Digital twins and digital agents.
Yeah.
What's funny about it is when you're looking at problems people have in whatever domains they have, the way in which you approach those problems are usually, they emerge out of the problem space you're in. And I think that the way we're describing what we do is really describing the way our system has been built from the beginning. And we're just having to basically, how do we express this in such a way that people understand?
Yep.
That is easy for people to get and easy for us to, explain it to our customers. And some of these terms like digital twins are very common terms. They've been around for years and everyone has their own definition of it. And we talked about digital twins before, I think with Amy Marks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked a lot about that with what NVIDIA was doing and everything like
last
that.
Episode,
their digital twin stuff. But for us, we have just kind of a different perspective on that. We can get into that. But no, I just think it's been really well received by customers. And the way in which, like you said, we're evolving the way in which people experience that platform to really reinforce these ideas, it just makes sense to everybody.
Yep.
Digital agents a little different. Talk about that.
Right.
Who were we talking to the other day? It was Lufthansa again. I'm just thinking. I
talked to them a lot.
No, we did. But no, we were on this call, and the person on the call just said, "I've never heard of the term digital agent." And I'm like, "Well, this person wasn't alive.
We didn't really
in the
invent
90s.
it, but
No, it was very popular.
it's less buzzwordy.
It was very popular in the mid '90s.
Okay.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Right. Think of Eminem, digital agent. Right. It's the same kind of thing.
Eminem.
You think he was in
The singer?
Yeah. Wasn't he? Hope so. Anyway.
Sure.
I don't know. I passed through that that decade, largely not listening to music, and I still don't listen to any music. Sorry, but no, but the digital agent idea that was written about all over the place in that time frame, and they were talking about general magic and digital agents and stuff like that. But yeah, no, no, we're gonna bring it back.
It resonates. A lot of people like it. Yeah. Everybody has a different idea of what the digital twin is.
But the digital agent is, because it's not a thing that when you start describing what our digital agents are doing, everybody's like, I want more of those.
Yeah. But you need the twins, right? That's the...
Well, yeah, they have to be working with something.
Yeah. So let's dive in on the twin side then, right? Because I think the term's saturated.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
A bit. And everybody seems to have a different idea about what a twin is, what it does, how granular, not granular it is, et cetera. I think I think our take on the term works because we're not trying to overcomplicate it. That's just kind of my opinion on it. Like, we're actually trying to say, no, you don't have to boil the ocean. You don't have to get literally every data point regarding your supply chain into a twin to do anything useful. You can start very small, and you can grow incrementally in terms of what you're modeling and everything. So what about our perspective on digital twins? Well, first, like, talk a little bit about what that is, and then what our take is, and then why you think, like, people go, oh, I get that.
You know, in that we've been to all these conferences, these events, and Kristen and I are usually the dynamic duo at these things talking to people. But people want, so customers, the people that do their day-to-day job, these aren't technical folks typically, right? They're business people solving certain domain things, from a major pharmaceutical company like Merck, or an airline like a Lufthansa, or an 3PL like a DHL, right? In all cases, these business people they literally will say, we want digital twins. Like, we want those.
Yeah.
And it's weird. It's not like we want a spreadsheet, or some technology, but for some reason, the business folks out there they sense that the digital twin is a thing they want.
But to be honest, when we first bring up digital twin, a lot of people roll their eyes because that's all the buzzwords that are out there until we explain what our digital twin is.
Yeah, when we do that, and that's what we'll get into, but when we do that, they're like, yes.
I like your twin.
I do. No, but what really a digital twin is to us is simply bringing all the information about a thing in the real world, right? And supply chains are great because they're anchored in the real world. There's purely digital type domains where digital twins don't make sense because the thing is the digital thing. It's a digital thing. But in supply chains, there's a lot of physical things, and those physical things need a digital representation. And you think about shipments, they have bills of lading, they have master airway. I can't ever say that term. Master airway bills. They have that.
MOB.
The MAB. Yeah. Or house airway bills. They have, and all the data around those things. But then they also have things like information about what is in that shipment from an order, right? So they might have ERP-based information, demand lines, quantities, descriptions of the goods, what's the value of the good, any kind of constraints that good might have temperature storage constraints. We think of the COVID vaccines and stuff. Everybody understands they had temperature storage issues, and everybody had to solve those issues. Time constraints, all those kinds of things. The goal is to bring all that information together in one place, and that might not be enough to form the twin you need. You might also want to bring in information about the environment that thing is in, like where it's at. So you think of sensor data, where it's at, what temperature it's currently experiencing, humidity levels it's experiencing, all of that sort of stuff. So
I think the key thing that you talk about is having it be a thing, because I think a lot of times people think, oh, it's just a shipment. But when you refer to it as a thing, they can kind of open up and realize it's a lot more information coming in than just an IoT device.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think, when people say, that's the other thing, we can't use sensors, or we don't need sensors. And then you start listening to the problems they have, problems that would be informed by the information that a sensor would provide. And you go, well, if you had this information, you would be able to actually solve that problem. So I think that, abstractly, people are like, I don't want to put another thing in my shipment. Why would I need to put sensors on here? I don't have people. I know we're going to leak a little bit into the digital agent side, but I don't have people that is going to look at that.
Right.
And it's just a reality. I mean, there's, their twins are, it is a saturated term. There is as complex as, we got back to, again, Amy Mark's video with NVIDIA. We want to simulate an entire warehouse at such a level physically that we can optimize the layout of that warehouse before we even build that warehouse. So we can do analyzed, simulated flows of forklifts moving through it.
Yep.
That's a digital twin. It is like a simulation of the thing. That's not what I think is necessary to use the term, but I like the term because it's representing something. It's like in quantum theory, quantum entanglement. I'm just going to go nerdy for a second.
Here we go.
Right?
For a second.
It is, well, maybe a couple seconds, but you got entangled particles. These particles connect to one another, and even at a distance, they're connected with one another.
Right.
This is the spooky action at a distance that they talk about in quantum mechanics.
Einstein didn't like it.
Einstein didn't like it because said God does not play dice with men. And so he said sometimes God not only plays dice with men, he throws the dice where they can't find them. Some quote like that. Anyway, the point.
Close.
Yeah, Niels Bohr.
Yeah.
So right, but the spooky entanglement is this notion in quantum theory where you can have these two elementary particles that are actually connected with each other and somehow are sharing information or connected with each other continuously. And that's when I think of a digital twin, I think of that. The digital representation of that real world thing as things are happening to that physical good. We want the digital thing to be updated as often as necessary in order to make sure you've got a good representation of that thing, because you really can't affect the physical thing, but you can be informed around and you can drive action through its digital twin. And so that digital twin, we want them to be as tightly bound as possible. And there's a 1-to-1 ratio. That's the other thing. We're not saying, okay, I've got a shipment and I've got my 3PL has the house bill and my airline has the master bill and my ERP system has the order information and the warehouse management system has where the inventory is. And so you can sit there and go, everything about this is spread across 50 silos. We have to pull all of the relevant information about the thing to form the twin.
Yeah.
Bring it together.
So it's one twin on a shipment with everything included. It becomes one twin.
Each thing has its own twin. Yeah. And now that doesn't have to be a shipment. The order itself may have a twin of an order, which could be fulfilled by 5 shipments. Like one of our customers, Google, is building data centers. Who knew that they're building data centers? I think everybody knows that.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. They do.
Just checking.
They build data centers, and some near us here in Virginia. And
I've seen them.
But they build those data centers, and they have an order like a generator. That order is split over 5 shipments because in other words, it's a fractional shipment, right? It's a fraction of the one thing that they ordered because it takes 5 or 6 truckloads to move it. And so regardless, that order could have a twin, the shipment can have a twin, other things could have twins too. So the twin isn't just, a shipment. It can be really anything. It could be a pallet, a physical pallet, or crate, or any kind of reusable asset in your supply chain could also have a twin representing that thing. So in our view, it's not just limited to a shipment.
Sure. It'd be whatever you need, right? I think the key is you model the data so that you can automate on top of it, right? Mm-hmm. And whatever shape that needs to take, that's the shape that we
it gets back to our mission statement, right? I mean, our goal is to simplify our customer supply chain operations.
Through
Measurement.
Automation.
and collaboration.
Yeah, that's it. I
Nailed
like
it.
I know. So we got that down. There was a test we had earlier on this.
Pop quiz
you all,
time.
You all passed.
Thank
So
you.
that's good.
Great.
Do we get a raise?
Yes, you get a raise. There are cookies in the kitchen for you to eat.
And a certificate.
And that will raise your weight because and whoever brought those cookies, I'm going to
Raise your weight.
they'll raise
Yeah, who brought that? But by
It
the
wasn't
just
me 'cause
time
it's
out.
chocolate and
Who
mint.
brought that gigantic box of chocolate cookies?
And mint.
every person in this space likes mint but you. So
Well,
Oh.
you don't like mint?
Thank you.
So you're eating the cookies? You're just complaining
I
about
had
their
a few. Yeah,
good.
sure.
You like them.
Well, yes.
Okay.
You know what? That was Christine. Our sweet Christine did that. So kudos to her. And
Christine was also the name of that evil car in that Stephen King book. So I'm just saying, in this instance, her bringing the cookies was a little bit into the car mode.
don't
But she
say
is
that.
super sweet
She's
about bringing it.
awesome.
No,
She's
she is
amazing.
amazing. She actually runs
Our
our
operation.
operations team, especially
Holding
around
her personally responsible for the 5 pounds that I'm going to gain this month. From
Yes, it's all because of that, not because of the chips I ate last night, which were really good. Salt and vinegar chips. Anyway,
yeah, right.
aside from our
Chris
bad
eats
diets,
chips for lunch, I've heard.
I do.
I love chips at lunch. They're like kryptonite. They just weaken me, and so I can count calories until chips come, and then I just like
It's
I don't
like,
know
well,
how to
all
count
bets are
these.
off, yeah.
Yeah. So back to what we were saying about.
Let's talk about VisOS. Yeah.
No, I mean, but this notion. Sorry, you brought up automation,
Right.
and that was that's that soft chewy center in the middle of our little.
It's nougaty.
Yeah, it's yummy.
Wow.
But it's all about the automation. We're thinking about cookies now, and now we're nougat sounds
Really?
good too. So, but it is about the digital twin for the sake of bringing the information together. So this is another thing. So we're going to bring up another term of that people talk about: data lakes. Do the effect.
You want
Yep.
Data lakes.
Yeah, that's it. So, all right, that was amazing. Yeah,
there's something.
I don't know. That was amazing.
Can we all do that or just you?
No,
Just me.
just him. And
Apparently,
he's the only one that
it's
needs
special.
to. He's
Yeah.
the only one that needs to. So that was the data lake. That was the data. I'm not even going to try it, but yeah, data lakes. Data lakes. No, I mean, but they are an interesting idea. Of I need to be able to pull all of my information out of these silos into something, especially when you're talking about reporting systems and trying to do reporting across systems. It's the same kind of problem people run into. I think a data lake, people sometimes equate a data lake and a digital twin, or they can get confused with, well, I've got a data lake. Is that a digital twin? And the answer is, again, you can define a digital twin
Sort of.
broadly speaking as whatever. But again, what is the purpose of a digital twin? To be as real time as possible so that you can represent the thing in the real world. A lot of times, data lakes have a lot of tributaries that flow in at different speeds.
Yep.
So that information could be hours, days, weeks old.
Yeah.
Now, from a data lake perspective, that could be fine for reporting. If you're reporting once a week, once a month, once a quarter.
Right.
And having it all together allows you to do that cross-functional data analysis for your organization, being able to see trends. All of that's relevant and important for data lakes. And having all the information over time as it changes, again, very relevant for organizations. So this is not a diss on data lakes, but a data lake is not a digital twin. But if you have a data lake, you may use that data out of it in the composition of a digital twin. But I think our use of the digital twin is more active.
Yeah.
It's an active collection of information.
So can you collect data out of the data lake to create the digital twin, but not use all of the data that's
Sure,
in
you
there?
can go fishing.
Yeah. Yeah. You can pluck out.
You can fish. I like to fish.
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't like cleaning fish. Do you? You do, don't you?
I know how much you love fish with
I
skin
don't.
on it.
Not this week. Not this week.
Let's not get into the food poisoning thing, right? Some sushi is bad sushi, and bad sushi is bad. So,
But you're alive.
I am. And speaking of, I lost all the weight from
Yeah,
eating
those
those
the
cookies.
cookies. The
Yes.
cookies are gone.
So yeah. But no, I think the data lake can serve. I mean, if you're pulling data into a data lake, that could be data you can use to actually form into a digital twin. But the point of the digital twin is there's other information sources that don't flow into the lake fast enough in order to be able to accurately represent what's happening with something right now. It's the immediacy of that. It's the quantum entanglement thing. I love this thing now. God, it's totally cool. That what you want to do is when one thing happens, the other thing is as quickly as possible updated with that, right? When one particle spins, the other one reflects that spin.
Yeah, if your only perspective on it is like we're getting this all together so that we can project some dashboards and run some weekly reports and whatever, the fidelity is important, but the velocity is less.
Correct.
And it's like, because so long as everything's there by the time I go in and somebody punches a button at noon on Monday, then it's all good. But if you actually, I think a part of how we've evolved our argument for our product over the last year that I think, I from my perspective, is like resonates the most with folks is the one where we look at all of these silos, or if they've got a long running data lake project, for instance. I mean, the number of times this year that we've heard, oh yeah, we've got this magnificent data lake. It pulls in all the data from everywhere, and like we aren't using it at all in operations, right? It's like they're using it to drive maybe some strategic decisions or some high level KPIs and stuff like that. But in terms of impact to day-to-day or week-to-week operations, it's slim to none. They haven't figured out how to either haven't figured out how to actually operationalize it, or it's like the process of the overall project here, which is like, okay, we want to make better use of all of our data across all of these siloed sources and et cetera, et cetera. Well, the first step is get everything in one place. And then that takes years
it does.
To achieve. And then by the time you achieve it, nobody remembers kind of like why you did it in the first place, right? Like, okay, well, we've got this great data lake and it's very pretty, but you're not actually getting but you're not actually getting all of the value that you could be out of all of that data.
It's too much data. They're not doing anything with it.
Yep.
Well, and I think visibility platforms actually suffer from the same thing. It's like a subset of the data lake, right? But it can suffer from the same problem.
Yep.
We bring all the information together for the sake of visibility. Now that could be brought in real time, right? You could even say that some of those visibility platforms are building digital twins, but it's the what do you do with it?
Yeah,
that really is the key to what we're doing. That's that soft GUI center of automation.
Yeah, so let's talk about talk about that nougaty center.
And that comes into this term that we've used of digital digital agents.
I'm going to keep saying that.
That's fine. I got quantum entanglement.
Yeah.
No, she like wrinkles her face every time.
Yeah.
We'll
What are you saying?
What?
What
No,
are you
you
saying?
no, you have
Say I have
beautiful
wrinkles?
skin. It is not that at all.
not what we're
no,
saying.
it is not what we're saying. We are saying that you look away in disgust whenever he brings
No,
it
you
up.
torment me. I know.
We do. So
Every day.
digital agents.
Yeah, he does.
Digital agents.
Digital agents.
Digital agents.
Are we done with the twins?
No.
We're not done with that.
No, the twins were the necessary precondition.
Right.
The question is, what do you form in a twin for? Now I've got this real-time thing that's being updated about this thing in the real world. What do I do with that thing?
Yep.
And visibility platform's answer is, we're going to give you a single pane of glass.
Single pane of glass.
Say it.
What?
The single pane of glass.
This is so great. This is a new thing that we've learned.
It's so dumb.
I love it. No,
Yeah.
this is the best.
Did you just discover this today?
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. I didn't realize I had another page of buttons over here. And yeah.
Yeah. So I know. Anyway, single pane of glass. But it is like that. You know, everyone was advertising. We have a single pane of glass. And how many people have we heard that say, we have this visibility platform? And
A lot.
and what do they say about it?
You can see everything
But no one looks at it
and nobody looks at it.
because
Yeah.
they don't have people.
I mean, that's the fun thing about that metaphor is that it always implies that somebody's just sitting there staring at it all
right.
day.
That you have another human on the other side of the pane of glass.
And is this where the chewy center comes in?
It is.
Sure.
Yeah. The nougaty center.
The nougaty.
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 Yeah. So, no, but we were trying to, We, for a long time in our platform, have been working to understand that when things are moving through supply chains, the kind of constraints that they're under, the expectations people have about what's going to happen to that stuff change, right? Based on like, in this mode of transport, this should happen. When it gets here, this should happen. We're bringing all this information together in real time. We can pull it all together. We can show you what happens. And there's got all of these different kinds of changing requirements, right? We'll call it that.
Yeah.
And in almost all visibility platforms out there, you sit there and say, my expectations are the temperature condition in this product will stay perfect the entire time. And then if it doesn't, it raises an exception, right? People call that an excursion in pharmaceuticals. But by the time the excursion happened, it happens because something before that went bad. So one of those expectations weren't met. It didn't get shipped in the right temperature controlled truck or wasn't stored properly. And it led to the product getting out of temperature range. And they do this root cause analysis to figure out why. It's just a lot of work. But the key was they were never able to, within the system that they were working, set those expectations, put those expectations in, say these are my list of what we think is going to happen. And we've been building this for years on our platform, building this because this is what customers asked us. They didn't have time to go sit at systems and they're like, can you do this? We got pushed into doing it this way. And what we realized we were building were these digital agents.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's not that we set out to say, we're going to build a digital agent platform on digital twins.
No.
Digital agents and digital twins came out of the
shipment plan.
Out of the shipment plan, but out of the problems we were trying to solve for people. Right? We embodied it in the plan so people could understand what the plan is about that. But the digital agent concept is just, we have a thing that has a set of responsibilities, agency, right? So the root of an agent is agency. They have the agency or ability to do a thing. And in the terms of let's say I've got a product that's going to get to a warehouse at an airport. It's going to be stored in a temperature controlled environment. That's the SOP, standard operating procedure. And that data is being thrown off into that digital twin to say, hey, the temperature condition of this product is, it's 20 C, it's 25 C, it's 30 C. And, if a human were looking at it, they were like, the temperature is higher than what it was supposed to be. If they look at it at that point, right? This gets into the single pane of glass. I look at it and I'm like, that temperature seems kind of high if I happen to look at that shipment. And if I've got 1,000 shipments going on, by the way, I don't know what shipment to look at. And what the agent could do is easily go, my responsibility is to make sure that this shipment is always stored at the right temperature or is being transported at the right temperature. And if it's not, I'm going to let you know, right? That agent's responsibility is ensuring the temperature of the environment around that product matches what the expectations are. And when not, let you know. I'll let you know through raising an exception in our platform and then drawing people into the platform. So instead of having, yes, we bring together all the information in a single pane of glass at the time, but it's really it's a transaction. They're doing a transaction at that point. They're not living in the platform.
Yep.
They get pulled into the platform by the agent when the agent determines they need to look at a thing. And this allows for the benefit of that real-time device, that real-time digital twin to be leveraged to meet your goals, which are to make sure that all of your expectations are being met around that thing.
Right.
And based on a leg or a milestone of that shipment.
Exactly. And because it changes.
Yeah.
And so the agent can shift with that. But so
that agent retires, then a new one comes along.
Well, every shipment has its own, right? Mm-hmm. And you may have multiple agents on a particular shipment that do different things, that have different responsibilities for that shipment. It doesn't have to be just one, but you have at least one per thing. But you may have dozens of them. We have customers that ship off globally, that ship things into certain countries where you might have good cellular coverage. And For the real-time IoT sensors that are part of that shipment, you have to change the configuration of that sensor to say, oh, when it gets over there, we need to be able to have the Wi-Fi access point information of that warehouse it's going to go into because the cellular network doesn't work well there. And we know that.
Yep.
Now, you could set up an SOP for a human to go like, when we ship to that location, when a shipment comes in, it's going to go to that particular country, that particular location. We're going to adjust the sensor's property to do this, or we can build a digital agent that does exactly that.
Yeah.
It's looking at every shipment and going like, I know what to do with that shipment. I'm going to adjust this profile. And it lets us decompose problems that allow us to match exactly what the problems each of our customers are facing, which are very different.
Yeah, and I think that's really the strength, I think, of our platform versus a lot of other offerings. It's the open-endedness and extensibility of the solution, because I think like the vignette you just painted around, a temperature-controlled good, and automating the oversight of that and then surfacing an exception, great, right? I think the answer in the market, a lot of other platforms would be like, well, we do alerts, we do alerting. Like, okay, yeah, crosses a threshold for X amount of time, we send you an email. Like, what more do you want? And I think the answer to that is like, well, a heck of a lot more, because like that is an opportunity for further automation, should you want to, right? Because your response to that, various aspects to your response to, okay, there's a problem, you're going to have somebody further contextualize it, who's it being shipped with, where is it going, who do I need to reach out to, how do I need to reach out to them? These are all very, you still get into very kind of rules-based processes where it's just like, okay, if it's this, we're going to do this. If it's that, we're going to do that. And like that stuff, you can just automate all day and further pull that off the plate of your team, so that the things that they end up having to focus on are the ones that are truly like, okay, we've got to get creative with stuff. We have to apply our subjectivity as subject matter experts and people helping steer this business to really resolve the problem. But like, let's get all the routine stuff out of the way as much as we can. We don't have to just stop at like, oh, this thing got too hot.
Yeah, if your control tower is manned by people that do nothing but send out emails to people and let them know things they should do, those actions of those people should be embodied as digital agents to do those things too.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to the next step of what these agents are going to do in the future.
I mean, I think we could. It's anything. It's almost anything, right? As
I think
if a computer could do
us.
it. You want?
Well,
I want to hear your future, Chris.
I mean, yeah, I bet.
He wants to hear his future too. It's dark. It is dark.
No, he has big plans for these agents.
Yes, we do have big plans for agents. I mean, I think the thing about the agent side of the Twin Agents framework, the strength there is, again, it's the open-endedness. It's like we don't have to necessarily anticipate every potential customer's needs here, right? There's a lot of similarities, but like how it all ends up getting stitched together, and really it's a space where we can get really consultative with a customer, and then deliver exactly the automation that they want and or need, right, to solve the problem that they're trying to solve, as opposed to going, well, you could probably configure this way, and then this other module functionality over here, you can get it to do that, and you can sort of solve the problem most of the time. Like, that's just like,
It's funny when we talk to customers and they go, can we see a demo?
Right.
And there's a reason they say that. They're so conditioned to trying to think of, we need to see the tool that you're going to show us so we can figure out how to bend the tool to meet our need or some need we have.
Yeah.
We go in and say, what problems are you having? How much of an impact is that? From a people perspective, from a time perspective, from a cost perspective, from a process perspective, how much of an impact are these things? How could we build digital twins to represent the information we need so that we could build digital agents to be able to relieve that problem, right? To fix that problem. So, but you get into what agents can do, like the future. You want to talk about the future. ChatGPT came out a year ago, right? I mean, it was kind of like it was being developed before that, but it really dropped like a year ago. That's all people have been talking about, and, you know, is AI this last year, right? And before, people were doing AI, but like then it became, you know, big AI. We've got to do it.
Wow.
Okay, that's the last one we'll do. But yeah, big AI. But
I like it.
I know it's cool, isn't it?
I want to do it.
I know you do, but everybody's like AI is going to take over the world. AI is going to do everything. And when this stuff first came out, the large language models, transformer model, all this stuff, right? It's like, what does it really do?
Yeah.
And what it does is, one of the things I should say it does is it allows us to be able to have better ways in which humans are interacting with systems, right? Like you go to ChatGPT, you ask it a question, it gives you back an answer. It's like, it feels a little magical, and you could say, tell me more about this thing, and it tells you more about this thing, and it feels magical. You're interacting with a system. That system happens to be the learnings of like every document ever written on the internet.
Yep.
But you're interacting with a system. Like Google search is a system you're interacting with, right? When you type in a search. But here you can type in natural language, and it comes back with natural language, and it feels magic, but it's a way in which a human can interact with a system. Like we build really nice user interfaces today that are graphical or whatever else. Back in the day, we had text-based interfaces, right? Or even before that, we had switches. You had to switch things up and down in order to send signals to computers. And then we evolved into text-based user interfaces. And then we went to graphical user interfaces and web interfaces and our phones, right? And all these things here that we can do it. Now we're starting to get things like we can talk to Siri and Alexa and Google, and it answers back. So you have these voice agents. Now you're starting to get ChatGPT where you can do natural language interface and get responses back. But the other thing is a system can reach out to a person with that.
In our agents.
In our agents. So it brings it back. There's a reason I'm doing this to ARC. She knows it. She's dealt with me long enough to be able to totally know this. Thank you. Like, she's like,
it's just, clips your heel as you're walking by.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in the event that one of these things happens, how do we notify people? We send them an email. How do you compose that email to make it look like you care?
Do you care?
But the person that wants the problem fixed cares, right? That's why maybe.
We care at CargoSense.
CargoSense cares about what our customers care about.
Yep.
We have no cares of our own other than how many calories we're going to eat with those cookies in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But on the wreath on the front is a wonderful addition to our office as well. I just want to say
that was Christine as well. Thank you, Christine.
Sweet Christine gave us a wreath, and it was beautiful. I walked in, I was like, man, it's like full of cheer.
It's festive.
Here. It's cheer.
We need a tree.
All right. Slow down.
Yeah. So we're going to put a Festivus tree in. Is what we're gonna do.
We?
Just a pole.
Okay.
Yeah.
A pole?
Yeah.
Is it for dancing?
No. Festivus for the rest of us.
Come on.
Was it airing of grievances? Wasn't that the Festivus?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. We'll do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, but these agents.
Cut that part out.
No, it's good. No, there's nothing gets cut out. So the agents can leverage that. So all this advanced AI and the things that people are doing, you can think of it as capability, new kinds of tools that allow us to do new kinds of things, new kinds of interactions we weren't able to do easily before. We can, which means we can make it very easy to interact with people through email or text or voice. So if an agent could call somebody and get the answer back and resolve an issue that way, that's where we're headed.
For instance, like they could reach out to FedEx and get an answer and then let the customer know the status.
Or get FedEx to do the right thing so the customer doesn't have to be updated. I know.
Brilliant.
Right. So because if you're shipping 1 million shipments a year, like some of our pharmaceutical customers do in those FedEx networks, they don't want to get, they don't need to be notified of things that our agents are doing.
They don't have time.
Right. They don't have time. And so today, by the way, when those pharmaceuticals ship in those FedEx networks, they fire and forget. They ship the packages. And they all have time constraints because they're usually temperature controlled or time, have some kind of SLA, some requirement of when it needs to get there. And they hope that the carriers do the right thing. But when you're shipping 1 million parcels, you're going to have problems. And we talked about this in some of the earlier episodes about this parcel stuff. But this is where agents can come in and do things, maybe not even like, hey, FedEx or UPS or DHL Express or name your courier. This is or carrier, I guess. They're not a courier. But this parcel isn't going to get there in time, so recall that shipment. A lot of times that's the answer. Mm-hmm. They don't want it delivered if they know it's going to be bad, because they don't want the doctor or hospital networks to use a bad product. They would rather recall that product, the pharmaceutical would, but they don't have enough people to know when to recall the product. This is stuff we're going to be doing literally with our customers with AI, true AI. And I mean, the ability of using aggregate data to be able to figure out patterns in these parcel networks and then use those patterns to determine when these parcels aren't going to arrive on time and to recall them. That solves a huge problem for pharmaceutical companies. And that it resonates. Those are their business problems.
Yep.
Their business problems are, if that arrives and they call that doctor's office, that's a recall. If they call and say, send that back to us, that's a recall. It's called an involuntary recall. And if they do that, there's FDA ramifications for that.
Sure.
You don't want to get into that. So they want to fix the problem as it's moving. But when you have 10,000 shipments going on simultaneously, how do you know what you want to do that with? This is where our digital agents come in. So those digital agents in that scenario can solve those problems very specifically for that customer segment. It happens to be a very big segment.
Yep.
Anybody listening to this who happens to ship parcel with pharmaceuticals knows that's a general problem. Sure. It's not tied to one company.
And it's not just FDA ramifications. There were a customer we were talking with that actually, if it doesn't meet by a certain time, there's a fee charged, and it's like a 10% fee on the cost of those goods being shipped.
They get a discount, right? So that's like the SLA requirement, right? So it has, from the time the order drops to the time it delivers, has to be no more than, say, 10 days or something like that. And of course, there's going to be time in which that order's processed, it's picked, packed, and shipped. That shipment has a certain amount of time, and if it doesn't get there, 10% hit is a big hit. And and they're going into these chaotic network environments where you have no idea how it's going to be routed. You just want to know when it's not going to get there in time. And then, so that's kind of like, it's predicting it's not going to get there. That's predictive agents that we're going to have coming out this year, right? In the parcel network part of our of the solution space that we're working in.
This year, 2024.
Sorry, 2024. I think of us as already being there because I live in the future.
Well, yes, you do.
I do. Yeah. We won't talk about 2025 yet because it's dark.
Yeah, you know too much?
Yeah.
2025 is a big year.
Oh. It is. But I mean, it's 25. So it's got to, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know why it's a big year. But, for us, for the world.
For CargoSense.
Oh, well, I think 2023 is a big year for CargoSense. This is the year that we basically came up with this way of unpacking what we do.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about this framework, by the way, is when we talk to customers about it, they start going very, very quickly. Can I have an agent that does X? Can I have an agent that does this? They get out of features.
Yeah.
They start thinking in terms of problems they're having.
Right.
And can we have an agent do that?
Because the answer is always, in most cases, yeah, sure.
Yeah. I mean, there's some cases where you're like, because then you sit there and go, what information do we need in the twin in order to build the automation in the agent to be able to do that thing?
Right.
It's easy for people to understand that. Like, we don't have to say, oh, we're using this form of communications technology in order to do this. Like, everybody's going to roll their eyes to that kind of crap. Except when it comes to quantum entanglement, which everyone really loves to talk about. But in most of these technologies and things in science, nobody really understands it. They don't need to, but they do understand this notion of we need certain information in order to make certain decisions. And then when this kind of thing is detected, this is what we do. Everyone understands that because this is just the way humans would do it. And so these digital agents are, I would say, a form of machine intelligence, right? Because we're embodying the intelligence of a responsibility, the processing of information, making decisions, and then acting And so, and this is why we call them agents.
Yep.
In the classic sense of what an agent is, that is what an agent is. It's not a bot. You're not interacting with it in that sense. It's looking at the at the twin that it's responsible for, and it's getting all that information as quickly as that information is happening, and it's responding. And by the way, it may be a lack of information. Like, I haven't heard from this thing. That could drive action for that agent too. Agents are on 24/7, 365. That's what we would say, right? They're on full time. You don't have to have a staff of people doing this all the time because the agents do it all the time. And if the agents are your first responders to exceptions, then the time when the humans get involved are the time when it's going to take longer to resolve the problem anyway. So you get into these things that are going to take days to solve. You don't have to have people that sit behind that single pane of glass 24/7, 365, because that's what agents are really good at. And people just, I don't want them to have to be. So it's not that people can't be good at it. It's just a really lame use of people's time.
Yeah. They can focus on the important things.
Right. Like using, ingenuity, to solve the real complex, impactful problems that they can do. The other thing this does, and we've heard this from customers, how do we keep our people here is a big question for people. And especially in supply chains, there's a shortage of people in supply chains, that know logistics, that know inventory management, warehouse operations. How do you hire these people? Super competitive, because there are less and less people being educated into this. So you have a smaller and smaller group of people that do this. Everyone's recognizing the importance of it. And so by being able to do this, you free people to be able to do more meaningful work. And if people do more meaningful work, it is less about pay and more about impact, is what keeps people within organizations. And if they feel that they're making an impact, they'll stay, even for less pay.
Are you sure about that?
I am sure about that, because this is why you stay, because you feel that you're impacting anything for the measly amount of money that we pay you. It's just,
It's all out of love.
Yeah.
But that's the impact, right? It's the loving impact that we have. Yeah.
I think the other side of that equation is important too, because I think there's a lot of, especially over the last few, let's say 4 or 5 years, of a lot of investment coming into the tech space around supply chain. And there are a lot of interesting platforms that solve specific problems that have customers and that are doing good business. But the common refrain we hear a lot is like, I have, insert tool, and we like it. We like what comes out of it, but we have problems with how their front end does this, or how they support our specific business and our application of that data in a particular way. And like, there's still this gap here, and we're struggling with either getting that vendor to meet us all the way, or getting our in-house IT teams to help us actually like come from the other side and fully integrate and operationalize all of the data that's coming out of this tool. It's like we're not ready to let it go because it's still useful data.
Yeah.
Like, we hear this over and over again, where there's a gap to fill. And I think like this is an important aspect of how our approach and our Visibility OS platform can help any organization like fill those gaps, because there's always this, they just want to do really well at one specific thing, right? They want to crush one specific problem really well, but in order to actually realize the full benefit of use of that platform, you need to do it in an automated way, and it takes more than kind of either side of that
You've seen a lot of that lately, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of our recent conversations, it's all about, and people want to kind of focus, they don't want to include other companies. And so we found that with bringing us in and doing the automation, you don't have to use our visibility OS. You can use yours, but we can take that data, automate it, and push it back to you.
Or you can use your visibility you can use your visualization, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
That
Your team's already living in whatever tool.
Yeah.
Great.
But then what is going to be automating, processing all of the information, making sure things are going according to your expectations, and letting you know when it's not. And if you want us to push those events back, if you want agents to push events back into the this other platform, so be it. We don't need to be the user interface.
And we really, a lot of recent conversations have been around this.
Well, because people fear that, oh, well, we've already made an investment. These are customer conversations,
Yeah, we got
right?
our whole team has to get trained up on a new platform, and
Right.
it is like,
Or we've spent so much money
Yep.
on this.
Right.
We have this, the sunk cost fallacy,
Yep.
right? Like, I've got all this money that we've poured into this thing. How do we, like, your thing sounds like it can do everything. So do I have to throw all that away? And this got into the whole data lake conversation, right? Where people are like, we have this as a data lake. And we're like, that's fine. That's great. That's awesome. Because it will streamline how we build digital twins to be able to build digital agents to solve your problem. Or they can say, we have this visibility platform that we're using. And we have a lot of money invested in pulling all the information together into the visibility platform. We're like, that's great. We can pull that data into our platform, build the digital twin, build digital agents that analyze that data to be able to let and surface information back into that visibility platform and pull people into the visibility platform at the right time so that they can take action. And in all of those cases, it's completely disarming, by the way, to those other vendors when you end up saying, fine. If you want to, if you want to maintain
You
that,
can be on stage. We'll be backstage.
well, I don't mind. The key is solving problems for customers.
Right.
What problems they're having that are causing them pain or cost, or financial risk. But you're talking about these tools that provide data. Every freight tech company is a company that's trying to digitize some aspect of things.
Yep.
Right? Whether that be aggregating truck data like P44 4 kites, right? We're going to aggregate data so you don't have to. And then regardless of what trucking company you're using, we'll have the data for that trucking company in our platform, right? So they're solving a problem of data aggregation.
Right.
And then you can just implement that API. Okay. So now
Then
you've
what?
got, right. So I've got all the truck information and so you have people like, P44 or whatever say, and we're going to build now an interface on that data called Movement, which you're all going to use, and it's going to be amazing, and it's going to solve all your problems for you, except it's trying to create a single pane of glass of which they have no humans to sit in front of that glass all the time looking at it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't solve their problems because the problems people are having are problems best solved through automation.
Yep.
They're not problems where merely having access to the information solves the problem because you don't know what to look at. And so whenever you're demoing something in one of those platforms, it's easy to go, look, this is happening right now. And you've got all of this information that you can use to resolve the problem. And management goes, we need that. What they quickly realize is, why aren't we solving any of our problems? Because we never know what to look at.
Yeah.
This is where automation comes in. These automated agents are looking at all that data all the time. And it can come from these different sources. And it doesn't reduce the value of that. If anything, it transforms that into business value for your customer. Because that customer is like, we're buying, let's say, risk data, right? The ability of understanding where risk is happening in different locations all over the world. Things happen. These platforms that do this stuff, right? That aggregate this data around risk. They have proprietary data sources. It could be civil unrest. It could be, weather, other kinds of risk, things at ports where you don't want to go through. All of these things can happen. There are platforms that pull this data together, and then they want to build a visualization of that, and you have to live in that platform to be able to understand how that impacts what your shipments. But your shipments are moving through all of these locations. The best use of that data would be for digital agents to understand their own digital twin in the context of that digital twin, looking at all of that risk data to be able to say, does this affect me? And if it does, I need to let a human No.
Yeah.
Or maybe take some action, which is, I'm gonna flag this shipment to be ones that may be at risk. And then here becomes a really interesting thing. If the agents are automatically doing that, and then that risk didn't end up impacting that shipment, or it did, in either way, you can actually see what the impact of that data, that tool is
Sure.
on your organization and what value it's creating for you. Like this gave us a warning. This allowed us to reroute this thing. But it is a combination of that other tool's data source brought in through a digital twin in our visibility OS, automated by an agent that's looking for that, seeing that, raises an exception up to a human that says you might want to reroute this around this because this actually may delay the shipment. You would have to have people that were effectively like AIs, just sat there and did nothing but could process this stuff all day long. And that's not a good use of people's time.
No, it's like, they say knowing is half the battle, right? But it's only half the battle.
Right.
It's like, and you don't want to be, I think a lot of times, like your frontline staff, it's like, okay, we've got this shiny new tool and it's going to bring this new information into our workflows and our operations. It's like, and you may not get it as candidly, but it's going to be like, well, that sounds like a lot more work. Like it's just, you're just adding more steps into my process. You're just adding an additional workload that I've got to now feel obligated to manage, whether I end up getting, a lot of times it's like you need that data in order to get the value on like across your entire operation, but it's only actually going to become operational for a fraction of the stuff that you're managing.
Right.
But if you're always doing it manually, if you're always manually cross-referencing things and you're not letting any sort of automation drive that stuff, then you are increasing the workload for everything to get that gain on the subset.
And it might not be worth it.
Applies, and it might not end up being worth
the cost of buying that tool may be higher than the risk of using it.
Yeah.
Right. Or the impact of using it. Like we use this tool, we pay $500,000 a year for this tool, but it costs us $1 million to use it.
Yep.
Think of that. And it doesn't really lower the risk, because the total risk to us in this is $750,000.
Yeah.
So they end up basically losing money by buying technology.
Yep.
And lots of people do that, not just in the acquisition of the technology and paying for the technology, but the impact that technology has on their organization. So we fixate on this.
Yep.
Like how we do. We like that term.
Fixate?
We fixate on customers' problems. We point them out all the time. This is your problem, isn't it? I mean, they get very stressed out around
we talk them
us.
to figure it out.
We do.
Yeah.
No, I think people, the other nice thing is, this is one of these things that when you talk to people about their problems and you seem legitimately interested in the kinds of things you're doing, you're going to be the most popular person at the party, right? I mean, the least popular person at the party is the person that's just talking about themselves all the time.
Yep.
Right? And what is marketing for freight tech companies these days, right? It's everybody's talking about themselves and what they can do for you.
Yeah.
Right? That's not the popular person at the party. The popular person at the party is the one that goes in and goes, oh, like, I really want to understand what's going on. Oh, you're doing this? That's you might want to look over there. Or you might want to look at, you might want to hook up that person, right? But, that you'd be that kind of matchmaker type thing. But we do this a lot, not with people. But by
freight tech matchmakers.
But by pointing them at things that could actually be impactful. I mean, we're not a hardware company, so we can be independent of that, and we can look at all these different hardware things and say, you know what? I don't think devices are the right way to source data. Your problem is not one where device data is going to help. Because we have a lot of experiences, and because we know what the cost of that is. Your problem isn't big enough to justify that cost, and we're okay with saying that. Mm-hmm. There could be other ways that we could source those events that aren't device-based, and that's sufficient to drive the automation.
Automate that problem away.
Right.
Yep.
But I think that our independence of this is also like, we just, if somebody is saying this other platform we're using solves all of our problem and we're good with it and we don't need to work with you, that's fine, right? They would never have been our customer to begin with, and that's fine. We think they're delusional, but that's fine, right? But yeah. But if no, but in most cases, when we get in and we start talking to people, what they end up doing is they try and find a place. They want to do this.
Yeah, it's rare that we talk to a customer that is 100% happy. It's very rare.
No,
with their tech situation.
no,
Yeah.
they're never.
It's very rare.
It's usually not the business people that are happy. It's the tech people that went through the blood, sweat, and tears to get the technology working that are trying to do the right thing.
Right.
I mean, they are trying. So this is not, by the way, harsh on other things. All we're saying is
we're saying we've been at this 10 years and
right.
like this we've gotten to the point where like we've got this platform that can actually make good on this promise, right? And like doing it in house or doing it from the other side of the fence where you're a tech provider with a really awesome point solution, like
you can't do it all.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's not as simple as it looks.
It's not. And you were on the other podcast. What was it?
Eric, the Logtech Live.
Yeah,
with
Eric Johnson. He goes, "You're one of those quiet companies." He used that term, and it's like, well, mainly because we don't have VC cash that we're dumping into massive amounts of advertising and marketing, and we're not going to pay Gartner $250,000 to be at their conference.
We have a fancy,
not that there's anything wrong with that.
Podcast.
Well, yeah, but we can do stuff like this, right? But I think that we're quiet because we're solving people's problems.
Yeah.
The loud ones are the ones that think by being loud, they're going to get business. And it does translate into revenue, but the cost of buying that revenue means they're not profitable. We're about building a profitable business, not just because we want a return on investment for our investors, right? And ourselves.
But we do investors.
We do. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, we do want that. But we also want to be around for a long time so that we can solve these problems. We are in positions with our customers where they need our system to work in 5 nines of uptime, which we have, at least that. It never fails because they are dependent on us. And these are trillion-dollar companies whose supply chains are being automated by our platform. We want to be there for them long term, which means we need a viable business, which means we need
together.
Grow more mature together. Exactly.
Old.
Not old.
Oh. We were talking this morning. We're old.
Yeah,
we're not old.
He thinks he's
not
old.
old.
I know.
No, that's just the younger kids you're around. They make you feel old.
This is 100% true. Yes.
Right. But
do we make you feel old?
No.
See?
Because he's old.
Okay. We stop about the old thing. We are going to be around for a long time with one another, supporting one another.
Aww.
And if we...
Oh, you need a tissue?
Oh my gosh. Anyway,
sorry.
So I think we're coming to an end of this talk. But I think we are building a sustainable business to get a good return for our investors, a good return for ourselves, but also to give our customers a comfort level that they can work with us. And it's a company that's viable. It's not going to be based on. It's not going to be a Convoy going out of business a week later after it was valued at $3.5 billion a week before. Yeah. All of a sudden, it just like, oh, we're pulling the plug and we're shutting down.
Okay, bye.
That is not, I mean, if you were a business that was dependent on that, the impact of that is horrible. We don't want to put any of our customers in that position. So we are going to have a viable long-term business.
Yep. So speaking of parties earlier, let's talk about some upcoming parties that we're attending next year.
I like parties.
It's a new thing. It's a new way to refer to conferences or just parties.
Parties.
We're going to BSMA, right?
Yes.
In March.
And we are actually co-chairing that. Richard and Devendra together.
Fancy.
Oh, it'll be fancy.
Oh, so fancy.
Yeah.
Nice. So that's in Foster City.
Yes.
And then we're doing Logia Pharma.
Yes.
Across the pond.
We are.
In April.
We are attending it. We will not be having a booth there, but we will be attending.
We'll be there.
Yes, we will.
In Lyon? Okay.
Isn't that
it's
we?
We.
Yeah,
Isn't that-
we. Yeah, it's okay.
Mais
She's
oui?
multilingual. No, but yeah, no, Logipharma. Well, both BSMA and Logipharma are pharmaceutical events. But
Yep. Yep.
Which we do a ton of.
We do a ton of those. Yes. Yeah.
And we're considering some other more general supply chain conferences.
Yeah, there's a supply
as
chain
well.
conference. Yeah, a Generis conference we're looking into.
Right.
In
Generis has
April.
been a really great partner of ours to attend their parties, as we call them.
Our parties.
But yeah,
Generis has good parties.
they do. Well, what's nice about it is they actually make time for people to be able to talk to one another.
Yeah.
And they do match make. So, you know, those conferences, it's not you're just at the whim of people walking by your booth. With the Generis-oriented conferences, they actually have their delegates, the attendees, have dedicated time of being able to meet with people they want to meet with. So it ends up being a really good way in which people can meet with companies that they might help solve their problems. And those companies get to executive level people. It'd be very hard to otherwise.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that we like to attend.
Yep. And we're actually going to, and I don't even know if we have this on the site yet, but the HPCLC in the spring, we're going to sponsor that event as well. Be a sponsor there.
Yeah.
So it's some exclusive tidbits there.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right. Yeah.
are you, is this over?
We're
This
getting
is
played
it.
out.
Are we done?
Yeah. I think
We've been done because we're old.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
right.
All right. Rich, Kristen, thanks.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Been good.
Yeah.
Thanks for the wrap up.
Thank you for the use of the voice altering effects to make
I will
impact.
make sure to never do that again.
I
It
loved
was awesome. I liked it.
Really?
What button is
Okay.
it?
It's this orange one over here.
Do it.
I don't
Say goodbye.
One more time.
Goodbye.
I like it. That's good.
know. All right. Bye.
Bye.